Luck is on your side if you're here today to be inspired because we are celebrating the story and achievements of a talented and inspiring artist. Welcome, Amy Wilderson.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
With a passion for creating beautiful and unique pieces of jewelry, Amy has made a name for herself in the industry with her artistic designs and expert craftsmanship. And today, Amy shares her inspiring journey of how she discovered her love for jewelry making, her creative process, and the challenges she's faced along the way. And perhaps she'll give us a few tips for anybody looking to pursue a career in the jewelry industry. Amy, how are you today over there in Minneapolis?
Ah, I'm fine. It's a beautiful day. The snow has melted finally. Yay.
Oh,
So,
we've had lots of rain over here in
uh,
Ontario, and I'm in Burlington. So
okay.
it's been rainy almost all day, but the sun has just peeked out a little bit, and it's like 5 o'clock. So at the end of the day, better late than never.
Better late than never for sure.
Okay, are you ready to get started?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So, Amy, as you know, May is Mental Health Month. And let's start with a question regarding jewelry workshops for healing and improving mental health. I wondered if you can tell us about any projects either that you've worked on or been a part of that actually is for healing and jewelry making together combined.
You asked me that, and I thought, wow, this is a great question, and of course, perfect timing. Just yesterday, I'm teaching a class at the Minnesota African American Heritage Museum and Gallery,
Okay.
and we it's a residency, so it's been about 10 weeks that it's going to go through. And in the course of that, we talk about everything, because this is revived treasures, revived memories. So things do come up quite often. And the first thing is we have established a safe space for all those discussions, all of those discoveries when they come to the surface. And jewelry making is, I'm finding, a wonderful vehicle for, do I need volume up? It's a wonderful vehicle to um, allow healing to happen, which happens in the course of reviving some memory. And we say sometimes, even if you have a piece of jewelry that we're trying to work on to make it into something new, not all of the elements surrounding it, are great ones, but the piece is something that we can take and use. And so we do sit and sit with our pieces, sit with jewelry making. And sometimes people are just talking and working on a piece, and and things just pop up, and we as a group discuss them. And it's quite a wonderful community that's developing. Even outside of my class, they have formed friendships and bonds, and are there with each other as healing is taking place. So I'm just appreciative that you brought that up and that you had that going on there. Yeah.
It sounds like a beautiful creative process. As you say, things will pop up and it gives you an opportunity to discuss them, which is wonderful because that's what you want to do is communicate and open up that dialogue to, let's say, recreate, wrap some new language around a piece that is being revived. That is, as you say, it's a treasure. And perhaps in the past, it didn't it's not linked to positive memories, but there is always that opportunity to create something new. So that's fantastic that you're doing it. Now, is that just for this month or is this something that you do that's ongoing?
It's ongoing. I'm a teaching artist with primarily with Compass. It's an organization here that connects teaching artists from all different mediums I work primarily with artful aging, which is people
Okay.
55 and older. And so sometimes I go into assisted living homes. Sometimes it just depends on where that wants to happen. I also work with younger students, but artful aging is my main place. And so yeah, I teach a number of different classes, all based in wire work, full connection, because I can't use torches around other people. I do that in my own work, but not around other people. Insurance won't let that happen. And one of the other things I wanted to add to this being Mental Health Month was gemstone energy. Now that's where I got my start, working with gemstone energy on my personal pieces, and then just kind of transformed into some of the others. So the um, ascribed or assigned metaphysical properties of gemstone. And I say that a gemstone isn't going to do the work for you, but this is to remind you how to tap into that yourself. So some of the pieces, as we're working on them and adding more stones, or we're taking where the pieces that are there, we talk about that too. Oh, amethyst is not to make you psychic or intuitive, but to remind you to tap into that, remind you to use those properties or that lore as part of your daily life. So it works all the way around.
Okay, so you can't just pick up a gemstone and become it, right?
Absolutely not. Some fight me on that. No, I say, because it's not prescriptive, and I feel the same with
Right.
some those are
There-
associated with medical healing. But I say this is to remind you to do the work yourself, to tap into that, and it's probably already within you, but you haven't, been looking externally. So
it needs to come out, or to come out again, right? As we're
exactly,
it's
exactly.
all about, it's remembering. At that point, it's about remembering, and that's where we're recreating, right? With those memories. So, okay, you said it started with the gemstone energy. So my question was going to be, what inspired you to become a jewelry artist? If that's where it started for you, where did that inspiration come from?
Well, I was looking for a creative outlet. When I was younger, I was ballet and modern dance, and then pottery, ceramics. But by the
Oh, you're
time,
you're an artist through and through, Amy. I didn't know that.
well, I'm just now, as I say those things, and people have known me, like, well, yeah, duh. But for me, it was not not encouraged as a profession ever.
Okay, yes.
So I always put it to the back and the side, and really, struggled with that. I want to do these things, but it's not practical. And as I got older, it just wasn't going to stay in the back anymore. So for I have 5 children, and for baby number 3, I have a little gift or something to acknowledge that. And I took a jewelry making class, and this was wire work. And I thought, well, maybe I needed to do something creative that I could manage 3 very small, 4-year-old, 3-year-old, and a newborn. Something that I can do. So pottery was just absolutely out, because I can't, nurse a child and run over to the studio and get back in time. And when I handled the tools and handled that silver pick them both up at the same time, like, oh, this is it. It was just like, I have being able to manipulate and manage wire. And sometimes it says, no, I'm not going to do what you want to do. And having that peace and calm, and just connecting with wire and gemstones, metals and gemstones and tools, just really spoke to me. So around the same time, I was opening a book and gift store, metaphysical book and gift store. And so in the store, when all the children were, resting, I would practice my wire working, and people would come in and say, oh, will you make this for me? So it then morphed into kind of a sideline for the business. And as we moved and our family grew to 5 children, I just kept up with that. And we eventually moved to South Carolina, and I opened a store there. And I was able to wholesale. So at this time, I'm still making jewelry in the as part of the business, and not as an artist. And then in 2012, I had submitted some of my work into a competition, and it was uh, supported by a supply company who had a very specific idea of what they wanted, and I just didn't think it all the way through. And they're like, "Oh, your stuff is not, yeah, no, it's not going to sell. No, it's gonna. You don't have a cohesive collection. It was a super harsh criticism." But as I'm reading this rejection letter, I'm talking back to it, saying, "Oh, you would have no idea. I'm never going to stop. Point number one. I do these things and I do that thing. Point number two." So I'm already expressing myself as an artist, and now I have to get the opportunity to establish myself. And it wasn't there's still some, it's like jewelry is fashion or craft or designer stuff, and and not as widely viewed or accepted as art.
Right.
So there my work is. But I'm making strides. I'm pushing it. So
Very
I'm not going to stop.
interesting information and learning about you. So basically, you're saying we need to have about 3 babies before we women can tap into our purpose, right?
I hope not. Certainly hope not. and
But
and
for
this is
you,
crazy.
that,
Well,
that's
that
how it worked for you, right? So you found your purpose literally because baby number 3 put you into a completely different environment or place that you needed to be to tap into that creative process again, and you found it. And I mean, you're just so full of energy because as I'm listening to your story, you're talking about, oh, baby number 3, and then we're on to 5 kids, and then, oh, here's this gift store. Oh, and then we've moved to South Carolina. So you've had a really full, well-rounded, I think, background to having a really nice foundation to walk on to do the things that you're doing now. That harsh criticism, boy, things do come to us at the right time, because just listening to you again, that was your motivator for your creativity, to inspire you to continue, not stop, not, stick your head in the sand. You went, no, I'm coming for you, right? And
exactly.
you haven't stopped. You talked about, what was that, 2012? And it's funny because
Mhm.
our story goes back to, I don't know, is it
I know.
2014, when I met you somehow through Dr. Venus Opal Reese, and we were taking
Right?
the same workshop or something at the time, and we've stayed connected ever since. And
We have. It's been
she's such
wonderful.
a powerhouse of energy, all within herself, to
Hmm.
motivate women to get out there and to do the things that they're good at. And so
Absolutely.
it just, your story is really, it's a beautiful story. It's very inspiring. And so if I understand correctly, that you work with 2 collections, and that's between the Revived Treasures and then
Right?
gemstone energy pieces. Now, and I think that's something I had seen a picture. I don't know if it's on a website or on Facebook. And if you're interested to follow Amy Wilderson, follow her, tap her up on Facebook. It's those wire bracelets I think the ladies were making, right? And it was the
Oh, yes.
gemstones dotted all around. Is that one of those workshops?
That absolutely is. Yes. We used very large wooden beads for that one, but in our next session we're switching to gemstones, and we are gonna have that discussion about gemstone energy. So I have a nice,
Okay.
we're gonna be surprised for them, but I have a nice packet of a collection for them and to talk about them and bring my books and everything. So I'm really excited to share that
Well,
with them.
I'm starting to feel a little left out. Hang on a sec. Can I join in online? There's something for you
Uh,
to think about.
well, I have taught virtually with Prime Life Arts Learning, and I hope to circle back and be able to do that as well. And I have had students in Canada before in different parts.
Okay,
So yes, I will let you and everyone know when that is
that'd be
available
great.
again. Yes,
Very
yes.
interesting. I
Yep.
wondered if you can tell us how you incorporate memory and culture and heritage into the jewelry pieces that you're making.
Okay, I will. It again started on a personal level. My family, both sides of my family, are originally from Louisiana, and
Okay.
we would frequently go down to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. That's bigger than Christmas
Ooh,
Mardi Gras, but that was the thing. Go down for Mardi Gras. And as a child, my elders would be all around. The float, the freight would come by my grandmother's house, and people would throw
we do have a little
there's all these
interference. We've
colorful,
got a
wonderful
little
beads.
interference with the recording here, Amy, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
All right.
hoping, just because there's a
It's
little distance between us, it'll come
right.
through okay. But just go back to telling us about being originally from Louisiana, and the background of the family, New Orleans, and how it all came together there.
Yes. So we would go down. I'm going to keep my hand still because I'm a hand talker.
Okay.
We'd go to down to New Orleans for Mardi Gras, and that runs anywhere from January to April. It just depends, but that's a big celebration in any family in Louisiana, pretty much. And as a child, I'm 61 years old. So when I was a small child, my elders would collect, pitch the beads for me as they were thrown from the floats that passed by my grandmother's house or in the neighborhood. And they also are quite expressive in their own jewelry. I mean, they are interesting people, the color choices and the styles. And I didn't think about it much as a kid because it was just normal for me. And all of my eldest, they've passed on, but a lot of pieces came my way through my mother. So one of the things I started making pieces out of the Mardi Gras beads, which back in my childhood were glass, handcrafted glass beads, not
Oh,
the plastic that's going on now, but handcrafted. And
right.
something in my head just said, oh, I can make these things, sell a few pieces, and then I'll have more. And then, some of the elders that are still around will send me more things. That's not true. That's a finite source that I have. And I remember my elders, catching things and either draping them on me or draping them on themselves and just the delight in that. So I started there with the history of my family, the legacy of my family, both sides, and what that meant to have this experience. And I'm hoping to go back down and do some more research about who, because it was primarily people of color that created and connected these beads. They were also wire work. They were on brass links rather than strung on
Oh,
string or plastic. So
oh, on brass.
extreme
Did you say
craft
on brass?
on brass, yeah, brass wire.
On
All
brass.
of these pieces were, I have some pieces that are, I have it on my site. I have a bowl of broken pieces and they're
Okay.
all connected by brass. I have the one intact strand I had was strung on cord because I wasn't thinking at the time how important they were, how finite their creations were. So I'm coming back from that. And that was one part of the story. The other part was another elder relative and I did not have the greatest relationship. And she was trying to relay some family history to me, but I'm too young. I wasn't really trying to, I wasn't giving her the attention that she required. I just kind of stopped and, very frustrated with me. And I thought later, how did people get through to me? And it was not just by having to talk, but having a piece to present. Oh, and even my mother would do it. Like, oh, I got this piece so and so, and I did this with it, and I was here and that. And there was always a story behind that that was woven into who they were. And I thought, this is something that I can bring to other people. That our legacies aren't just the stories because they change over time. We forget elements of it, they get embellished, they get diminished. But we have a tangible piece that says this person was here. They did something. They were they were here. And yeah, I'm actually this piece that I have on here is a combination. The coral pieces on this are from a necklace that my mother purchased in Hawaii very soon after it became a state.
Oh.
And she didn't particularly like the coral, and I didn't particularly like it either. And it was so interesting because she said, eventually they're going to take all the coral out of the waters, and
Yeah.
how long is it going to take? And I never knew her to be, ecologically aware of that way. But she said that kind of in passing, and then as I'm making this piece, I remembered that she said that. So all these things come back that were just kind of glossed over. And I made this piece with it's also a computer
Beautiful.
motherboard for my children that someone in my family is fried. So there's a lot of different story to this piece that
Right.
isn't just a really interesting or funky, strange, kind of necklace. So
So behind every piece, there's a fabulous story like the one you just shared. And I did hear you say a little earlier on, you're 61 and holding, I think you get more beautiful with age, Amy. That's for sure. But what really piqued my interest here is how you talk so much about you have this love of talking about your elders, and I think
mm,
that's so beautiful because many I think we need to get back to that as women,
yes,
especially we need to get back to telling our stories so that they do carry on in the most magnificent ways. As you're talking about the story now, I'm hearing between your mother and yourself, this story in passing that now has a legacy that has
it
been
does.
created through this beautiful piece that you're wearing today.
Thank you. Thank you. I've also incorporated my children. Well, they're all grown now. They're not little people, but This is
All
the
five
piece
of
that
them,
I wear
right? All
frequently.
five of them,
Yes,
maybe?
they're they're grown. They're like sometimes they still call me mommy and I'm like, if you really want to go there, you know. But
Hang on a second. We've got a little
this
interference again, and I don't know if it's because you're holding that up, because people aren't
piece
going to
that
actually
so
see
this
this, but yeah.
probably okay. Oh, right. It's on the side. It's there. So it's a bottle pendant from my first child's birth, and then I always make it into I would used to make it into a necklace with a bunch of different gemstone beads, and my children know to not touch when they were little. You know, stay off of mommy's tools. Those are there's an energy and like and back off. You can play with these tools over here. You can do things, but don't touch my tools. And one of them came over to my desk and picked up a tool. I was like, oh, and all the other kids were like, oh, she's being
Oh,
old. And they all kind of creeped over. And then they went into my dish stash, my bead stash. But they started picking out all these gemstone beads. And I had to step back and experience them having a conversation about what gemstones because oh the other part is I homeschooled my children at the store, so I would take them to trade shows with me to purchase things, and they always like, oh mom, buy that, it's gonna go really well. So they were very familiar with gemstone energy, very familiar with stones and stuff. So they were having this conversation about how should construct this necklace. I thought, okay, there's something there. So I've kept basically the order that they put them in. And they remember, oh, you're wearing that. I remember we chose that. And I really wanted this piece, but I chose that. And it has become part of their legacy too.
beautiful.
So I do like to do the intergenerational work so that it's not just the telling of the story being passed down, but the incorporation that we can work on pieces together.
Wow. Wow. What are some of the challenges that you have faced as a jewelry artist, Amy?
Well,
You make it sound so easy. Oh, I got five
oh,
kids. Oh, they're homeschooled. You just sort of drop that one in there, very gently. I like that was good. Oh, I took them to trade shows, while they were homeschooled. So, like, how did you balance all of this?
I didn't, and that's my truth. And I say that to people, especially younger people. That I seriously, there was a point when I was so empty, and art heals, art nourishes. And if I didn't have jewelry making, I don't know. At some point, I I I didn't know the things needed to be done, and that was all there was to it. Just like okay, and again, I put myself and jewelry all the
Mhm.
way through that. I carried around a cleaned out hummus container with,
Mhm.
with whatever pieces I was working on and a couple of tools in there. And then
Yeah.
whenever it was quiet, things were when I had a moment, I would work on things. So it's just been in the last maybe mm, 5 or 6 or 7 years that I've really been on. I changed the store name. We closed the store, so I changed it to Amy A Jewelry and started working in 2012. But it wasn't until my youngest got into college, went off to college. I was like, my time, my turn, and I was so exhausted and
Mhm.
didn't know how depleted I was. So I would not encourage. I say it kind of glibly because it's my story, but I also am thrilled that people talk about self care and
Mhm.
I didn't know to do that. I didn't I didn't stop to say I need time, you know.
We weren't having
Um,
those conversations
right.
back then. I don't want to say back then because it
What?
hasn't been that long ago. It's just more recent that it's been highlighted the importance
Yes.
of self-care, especially since the pandemic, how
Yes,
important self-care is. So you got to a point you said where
absolutely.
you were completely tapped out. So what did you do to rejuvenate yourself?
I was in a position where again I didn't have much choice, so it was incremental. I one of the big things that it was a pivot for me was I was moving from kind of an isolated community. I lived further out in a rural area, and I moved into Minneapolis proper in the North Side Art Space lot. So I
Mhm.
live in an artist live work community. So I'm right in my studio space, and my workbench is across over there, and I live over here, and I get up and cook or eat or whatever, and I love it because uh over maybe about 70% of the residents here are also artists, and we come together from different medium, and we collaborate on pieces. I'm working on a show that's happening over the next week, all at in the evening, with a spoken word artist, with a poet. Whoever thought that was going to happen.
Right.
So when we get to those places where we are, it's okay to work through things in an environment where people understand that. And it's okay to, no one says, why aren't you at work when I'm at work? I'm here, I'm working on, a project or
This
something.
is my work, but people don't recognize what your work actually is. Well,
So this has been great for me.
what do you want, or what is your hope for people to take away from wearing your jewelry? I want to squeeze that in before we go, because I also want people to know not just what you hope their takeaway is going to be. Tell us where we can connect with you, and where are you doing your next workshop?
Okay, I'm right now I'm doing most of it through Compass. So those are designated. I will let you know when I do the virtual ones, and
Perfect.
they're a lot of fun because we do have that kind of community happen.
Okay.
We're having here at Northside Art Space Life, we're having a couple of we just had an exhibition. I was actually the organizer and curator of it. It was called Works in Progress. So about 38 artists brought our work together and had maybe a month or two long exhibition. And that has rolled off into a lot of other exhibitions for me. I
Right.
will, it's been a good year for me. I won a number of grants that are going to allow
It
me to
has
teach
been.
some more things.
Congratulations, drum
Thank
roll
you.
for you, Amy. I'm so proud of you. You've
I appreciate
done
it.
fantastic.
It's a long time coming. People say, "Oh, you just like no, I have been working at this." People say, "How long have you been making, or how long have you been making jewelry?" 27 years. So in that amount of time, it's,
Yes,
it's been a constant work, and I just, it's just been an amazing uh, vehicle for me,
it's a
and that's what I
testament to
would.
your faith in yourself as well.
Yeah, that's true.
You didn't
That
give
is
up.
true. Thank
You
you.
didn't give up, right? Just kept going. And the takeaway for people wearing your jewelry, what is that? What is your hope?
That it is now yours, and how it connects to you, whether it be gemstone energy, if it's either revived. Um, Jewelry is, I always say, jewelry is personal and public.
Yes.
So there'll be a story behind that, and you'll say, oh, where did you get that? Why are you wearing that particular piece? Because mine is intentional in that way. I hope that people examine that themselves, and then come take a jewelry class anywhere. Find an art form that
Mhm.
connects to you, because it's so much more than just the thing that you make. It's so much more about how you move in the world, and I want art for everyone. Mhm.
Wonderful. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be here with
Oh,
me
thank
today.
you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope you'll come back and share more, most definitely, another time. And I mean, it's all we have time for today, but we will connect again very soon, Amy. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank
And
you too.
and
Right.
to our listeners, to make sure you stay in the loop and never miss an episode by subscribing and following this podcast. Be inspired. Amy, you're such an inspiration. Thank you a million times over again. And to everyone else, until next time, bye for now.